So what we're finding on our Halter farm at the moment is that it's my lowest workload farm. So instead of a weekly farm visit, that farm is on a monthly farm visit. In terms of the entire year, that might be a 200 to 300 hour saving just personally for myself. If we can roll that out across all the farms, effectively I could double the amount of farms we're operating and not have any higher workload with Halter. At the moment in dairy farming, we're about 2,200 people short on farms across New Zealand. A lot of that's come from COVID, meaning that migrant staff that the dairy industry normally utilises can't come to New Zealand. There's not a lot of people out there looking for jobs, which has made it really difficult for farmers. My name's Mitchell and I manage a company called TCG Agriculture. We manage a group of 6 farms, 5 dairy farms and a dry stock unit in the Waikato and Bay of Plenty. All of my farms have farm managers and on-farm teams, and they range from 160 cows through to 1,000 cows. Generally, we float around 13 to 15 staff plus casuals through our sort of lower workload months. So we've got Halter on one farm and we're looking to roll Halter out over the next sort of 12 to 18 months over the rest of our dairy units. So one of my favourite things to do with Halter is I have my morning cup of coffee, a couple of slices of toast and the Halter app's open and I'm just looking at information. I can see cow numbers, where they are, what mobs they're in. I can look at how many cows were put up to AI and been on heat that day, and I can also look at their allocations of dry matter. Normally that would have been an up to hour drive to that particular farm and a discussion with staff and looking at manual documents. So it means that I really have an information source to enable my sort of strategic decision making to come easier and better really. There's transparency within the business, so they know that I can open the Halter app and I can see, hey, everything on farm's right, so I don't have to physically turn up on farm and go and look as often as I used to do. Flowing down to the farm manager on that farm, I would anticipate probably save around an hour to an hour and a half of general just time saving a day. So that's things like putting up break fences that they don't have to do now and stock movements in and out of the dairy. And it means they can focus on the I guess more important areas of feed management and making sure that our animal health and heat detection and those things are really well looked after on farm. Another great aspect that the managers are having is heat detection. They're no longer having to manually detect heat, so we're fully relying on Halter. We're having a management change on our Halter farm at the moment. The manager there's got an opportunity to move up in the world, so he's off to do that. What that means is I can have comfort in what I call the departure lounge. I can open the Halter app and make sure that everything's, ticking along on farm. And that means that when our new manager takes over, it is a mid-season change, which is not ideal in the dairy industry, that we have real consistent information there. So they will be able to scroll back in the Halter app and they'll be able to see the feed records, where the feeding's been, and that will allow them just to create stability moving forward for the cows. So it's not a complete change in management, it's really just a changing of the guards. Having Halter means that if someone's applied for 3 jobs and 2 of them don't have Halter and we do, we've won. At the end of the day, it's as simple as that. We can say to them, you don't have to run break fences anymore, you don't have to go and sit behind cows, heat detection's simple, and you've also got the health tool there helping you make sure the cows are healthy. Core values of the business is to try and retain staff and put them on a retention plan and a self-improvement plan. We want them to start with us as junior employees and work their way through to managers. Using Halter means that people aren't getting fatigued with the really monotonous day-to-day. We're trying to funnel that workflow into getting them more higher skilled for the whole industry and to move through the system. It means that our more junior staff can be involved from day one with those decisions. Being strategy and operational management, compliance all sits on my shoulders on the farms, and a lot of the farms that I have I've taken on because some of the owners have become fatigued with compliance and they wanted basically to bring people in to manage that for them. So Halter's one of the tools that I'm using to allow me to do that. Farming traditionally has been a long day. You could have a 4 AM start and you could have a 6 PM finish. What Halter's meaning is that we can keep our human resource compliance really well organised. They don't have to be up at 4 o'clock in the morning to get the cows in because Halter's awake. With Halter saving our teams an hour, hour and a half a day, it means that we've got a lot safer activities happening on farm. People aren't in a hurry, so they're not having incidents or accidents on motorcycles, and they're away from the livestock. So there's no incursions with animals, there's no issues like that happening. So it's been really instrumental in really keeping our teams fresh and going through the springtime. What I'm doing and what my teams are doing, there's a gap in the market. We don't have a lot of high-skilled people that aren't already in work in dairy. So we're trying to fill that gap and take on some of those farms. So we're expanding at 1 to 2 farms a year. It's small expansion, but it's slow and steady. As we roll Halter out over the whole group means that I have the ability to take those farms on, and I know that my teams have the ability to make their decisions with potentially less input from me as the years roll on.